There we go. White balance is a beautiful thing. All right, team, good morning. I'm back in my own home, so you can see. I'm back in my own home, and it was Monday of week 2. Yesterday, I ended up making absolutely nothing, and I didn't even go to the grocery store. We're gonna get started today, and that is just fine. I still need to go to the grocery store, but before I do that, I'm gonna attempt my first attempt at Dutch oven bread, since I can plan ahead. I've been wanting to make this for a really long time, but you have to let it sit for a long time because it's quite a yeasty dough, and then to get it like really crunchy and to get all those pockets of air in the dough, you really got to let it sit for a long time. So every other time that I've wanted to make it, it's been too late. So I didn't actually have bread planned for this week, but then I was like looking over my recipes and I was like, I'm making soup and bread would be really good. I think, if I'm totally honest, I think bread is like the thing that really made me want to do this. Like every time I've made bread, there's only been a few times where it failed miserably, and usually I knew why. There was never a mystery to it. And it's always so much easier than I think it is going to be. Granted, I have yet to try like croissants or anything crazy like that, but I've made a fair amount of bread. You know, I made the rolls last week and the English muffins. I've made tortillas before, still working on perfecting that one. They're not as soft, they don't get as soft as I would like them to be. I've made French baguettes before. I've made just like plain loaf bread. It's always, turns out, it's always way easier than I think it is. And it's just one of those things that like gives me that like, why don't I make more things from scratch feeling? Because it is not that difficult. Sure, it takes like a little bit more planning, like for today, you know, to know that like I'm making soup for the week, so I need to like a 24-hour period to make this bread, and same with the English muffins. So I have made English muffins before that didn't take as long as this last time, but this last time they were really good, so it's worth it to have that time to sit. So I mean, there is that. There's, you know, some bread takes a lot more time. Some, I mean, a lot of things to make homemade, you just need the time to do it. But it's always so good and delicious and whatnot. So I'm gonna add bread again this week because I love making bread. Cookies and bread, those are so far my favorite things to make. I mean, I love cooking everything, but I think those are the most fun to make and the most satisfying, especially when it does take a long time and then it turns out really well. Like last week I was so nervous about that pizza dough, and then it was awesome, and that was a big victory. And then now it makes me want to make my own pizza all the time. So things like that, small wins that feel really big. Anyways, I'm gonna stop rambling to y'all and we're gonna get started. It's not gonna take very long. I'm just gonna whip up the dough and let it have time to sit and rise, and then later we will finish that, and at some point we will go to the grocery store, but I do not know when that will be just yet. Okay, so that's all mixed up. There's no kneading with this bread dough, so trust the recipe. I'm gonna cover it in plastic wrap, put the lid on it, put it in the oven, and then it's gonna hang out for a very long time, probably overnight. We'll see how it's rising. I'll check this evening, but first thing of week 2 underway. Good morning. It is Tuesday of week 2. I have some updates for you. I made brownies yesterday. I didn't film it. It was just a quick thing. I had, oh, you can't really tell because the light is poor. So I had some avocados left over from last week, and they were like perfectly ripe, and so I needed to do something with them. And I had seen, like, always seen a lot of recipes and stuff online for avocado brownies, so I was like, hey, let's give it a go. And then I just mashed up the rest of the avocados and froze them for later. This turned out really good. It tastes like a brownie. It's not dense like a brownie though. And so I'm not sure if that's just the recipe or if I did something wrong, if I had like a little bit too much baking powder or something, and so it rose too much and got too fluffy. But nonetheless delicious. Like I would make it again. I would just maybe say that it's like a chocolate cake, not a brownie, but it tastes like a brownie. It's just not dense and thick like a brownie. And then we have our bread update over here. So this has been sitting overnight, and later I'm probably gonna make the soup that goes with it on my lunch because it's not a very long soup to make. And then I'll bake that as well then. So for now, coffee, brownie, and a morning meeting. So it is time to bake some bread. I have my Dutch oven here. You can see that there. My oven is preheating. I haven't used this in a while, so I just put a fresh coat of oil on it. I have a glass stovetop, and I don't want to risk scratching it since I am renting this place. I don't own this home or this stove. So I haven't been using any of my cast iron, which makes me really sad, but c'est la vie. So I just put a fresh coat of oil on this because it's been a while, so I'm letting that kind of soak in while the oven preheats, and then we'll transfer the dough over and get it baking. And since I can't find the lid, I could have swore it had a lid, but I could be totally wrong. If I do have a lid, it's probably in a box somewhere still because, like I said, I haven't been using it. So I'm just going to cover it with foil for the part that requires a lid. I think that'll be just fine. So here we go. Okay, so bread is in the oven. Definitely see why a lid is useful when you have a 450-degree hot pan and you're trying to put foil around it, but we made it work. I'm gonna clean up this floury mess now and let that bake for 30 minutes, and then I'll remove the foil and let it bake more until it gets golden brown, and then we'll have some bread. Okay, bread is done. I think it turned out really well. I mean, it looks really good. It sounds hollow. It's obviously nice and crusty and crunchy on the outside. So very excited to dig into that. For now, we're gonna let it cool, and then we're gonna make some soup in a little bit. There we go. Okay, soup is done. Cut into the bread. It looks really good and nice and crunchy on the outside, but soft on the inside, just how we want it. The soup was super easy to make, not very many steps. You just roasted the potatoes in the oven, and then the recipe didn't really say, but it looked like from the pictures that she didn't put the potatoes in the soup. She just served the soup on top of them. So that's what I did. And I think that's how I'm gonna leave it, just because I guess I would be afraid that the potatoes would get too soggy if you put them all in the soup. The other thing is that the recipe calls for like vegetarian stew beef. I don't know what that means. I've never seen a vegetarian meat package like that. I looked at like my freezer section with all the vegetarian meats, and there was nothing that seemed like it was for that use. There was like beef tips and things like that, but just nothing I was really confident in. So all I did was just add some more mushrooms to compensate for that. Sorry, I dance when I get excited that I made something good. That's really good. The sauce is really good. It's like a cream base. I don't know if I left it in or not when I edited, but before I said I was making like a heartier, not cream-based mushroom soup. I lied to you. I had a recipe that was like that and this one, and I ended up picking this one. And so, but it was super easy to make. I mean, just fry the onions and the garlic, add the mushrooms and some rosemary, and then the base is just red wine, my favorite, creme fraiche, and cream, like heavy cream, and that's it. That was good. Super easy. It's perfect for like a dinner party. Excuse me. Because it didn't take a lot of time. I mean, by the time, it took me probably 40 minutes to roast the potatoes, and by the time they were done, the soup was done. So the longest part was the bread, because I had to do it overnight. But worth it. Yeah, the bread was really good. That was worth it, but that definitely took the longest. You could easily do the dinner roll recipe that I did last week with the soup if you were kind of last minute planning and didn't have the time to wait all day for the bread, because that dinner roll recipe was only like 30 minutes. It was so quick and so easy. But this bread is really good. So now I know that it, and like way easier to prep than I thought. Like just mix everything in and let it sit. So both wins so far. This is as good as we're getting. Wrench in the plan. I have currently had 102 fever for the last 2 days off and on. So not a lot of things getting made. Luckily I do have that soup that I made, though I don't really have an appetite. So for now, week 2 is probably going to be a really short video because I don't, unless tomorrow miraculously I feel 1,000 times better. I don't imagine I'm going to be making anything else this week, and I might break the rules because I'm not going to like go through the trouble of forcing myself to make Jell-O and things like that when I just want to lay in bed all day, all the time. So that's my update for week 2. Not a lot getting made. Hopefully the fever passes soon. Though hopefully by the time you're seeing this it has passed or we're in big trouble. But anyways, that's the update for week 2. So I might see you again or I might not. But at least so far we're successful in food making, not in health. So we're gonna work on the health part for now.